All right. So one more topic. So I think we all follow E-Man movie reviews, Chicago guy, doing that. He went out to the Black Panther premiere, and he got to have a interview with Nate Moore, which is pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So he had one, I believe 2 weeks ago, non-spoiler, and they talked about it and this and that. Today he dropped his spoiler one. So if you haven't watched Black Panther yet, you want to watch it, maybe mute it and come back in a couple minutes, because this is spoiler talk. So he had asked Nate Moore about, little TJ, about T'Challa Jr., and kind of brought that up. And, they're going back and forth and stuff like that. And
see, Andy, I know you don't want to mess up. Trust me, we're about to mess up everything right now.
Good night, Andy.
So see ya. Hopefully I give you enough time.
Thanks for coming through, Andy.
Yeah, appreciate you being here, man. And also make sure you go. I think Andy already did. Check out our 500 sub giveaway video. So was it
500 guys?
Yeah, it was Garris too. Go check that out. It's I think it's like
496 right now, guys.
Yeah, so
496.
Giving away a cool gift. So make sure you go check out that and enter in. But back to this one. So yes, E-Man asked Nate Moore about little TJ and this and that. Like, what is he gonna do? He basically said that TJ was gonna be in the movie no matter what. That TJ was in the script, even the original script with Chadwick's T'Challa being alive. And they were going to introduce him, and that was going to be part of the issues he had of returning after the blip. So I was like, interesting. Like, so this character was going to be in it all the time, because a lot of us think it was an afterthought, and it wasn't. So what do you guys think about that?
Wow.
I'd have been fine with it, had Chadwick lived. I'm trying to search for how to word it. Legacy has always been a prominent thing in within the Black Panther movies and the appearances of T'Challa, and family and kind of carrying on in that regard. So I think it would have made organic sense. And even if it didn't happen in the second movie, had Chadwick lived, it probably would have happened sooner or later. So I think, the unfortunate death, notwithstanding, either way, it's something that I would have been okay with, or something that I am okay with. I think that, the tragedy did kind of throw a wrench into things kind of moving forward, which we've spoken about many times, and how Marvel approached things. But I think it's something that works, and it kind of fits along with like a lot of the other characters. Stark was a dad. We found out that Bruce Banner is a father. Thor has an adopted daughter now. So Scott Lang is a father. So it's something that I would have been fine with.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm a Black Panther fan. My favorite storyline is the one when T'Challa marries Storm, and they're like the ultimate black couple of all time, like the most powerful badass black couple of all time. So if they had a TJ, I would rather it be with Storm personally, because their son, check the comics out, is a badass. is super badass.
Azuri, what was his name?
Azura.
Zuri, Forrest Whitaker's character.
Zuri, I think it's
no. So it's
Forrest Whitaker's character.
Yeah. So it's their son. That's what I would have rather. My second thought immediately was, I felt like this Black Panther 2, I kind of talked about it in a lot of other streams. There's a lot of black tropes that I really didn't appreciate. And another one would have been like him having a son by one woman and then being with another woman eventually. Like, I feel like I don't necessarily want to have that, especially for T'Challa. who is, as I've said, overall is like above reproach. He is like morally like the best of all. You know, he's the most noble, the most everything. That's who he is, no matter what. So I didn't like him keeping the secret from his family in this movie, and now if he did it in the same movie, I don't know if I would have wanted him with Nakia. Unless they killed, and if they did that, they would have had to kill off Nakia because they can't have him not be with her with the son. They would have had to kill off Nakia, and then it just throws a monkey wrench in the whole him and Storm storyline. So I don't know. I would have had a few issues with it, but I am not a movie writer, and I totally acknowledge that. And if they can figure out to make it work, I'm all for it. But if I didn't like it, I would have voiced my opinion because I do not. The first movie, Black Panther movie, encouraged so many Black people to really be happy and to love the movie and be proud of their what you might see in an African country if it never had all these people coming in and taking from this country all the natural resources from it and their people. If they're all together and they had a technologically advanced society, this is what you would have gotten. Yep. And I think that's the key idea. I just don't want to have all these negative Black tropes in the movie that's like that.
Yeah. I get that. And I'm happy you mentioned that, Brian, because that was one of everything you just mentioned, you know, especially with how it embraced the first one, how it really embraced, you know, African culture and kind of made it seem very, very, you know, you bought it within this fictional, you know, technologically advanced land of Wakanda. That's what I was saying last week when we were talking about Wakanda Forever. It really felt like a living, breathing character all its own, melding this advanced tech with traditional culture, like the street vendors and, you know, kind of common things that you'd see associated with African culture that we see on TV, or, you know, I'm not sure if you visited there, but you know, stuff like that. Like it made it seem like a living, breathing character, and it seemed viable within this world of fiction, which I really loved about it. You know, so I'm losing my train of thought all night and rambling, but that's what I'm that's what I'm getting at. So you know, I'm just kind of going a little hand in hand with what you're saying is what I'm getting at.
No, but yeah, I just feel like it had so many positive things. I didn't want this movie to change
a lot of positive
a lot of these positive,
you know,
image that you don't necessarily see because you created a culture when there's a scarce cultural identity in an entire group of people. When you don't have that identity because you don't have cultural things, because people have come and taken it all the time. You know, people have come and just taken the entire country, all of Africa has been taken from this stuff. And I think that you saw it. What happens when you don't have those people there, when you have a country who's free to grow their own way, and you saw those wonderful things, and you didn't see a lot of those African American tropes that you always see about Black families and things like that. You didn't see all those negativity. You just saw black
trauma
being great. You didn't have any of the Black trauma. So you have exactly. So you had
people thriving,
positive Black people just thriving, and I don't want to see any of these negative Black tropes that we get now.
Yeah, so, and I think that's why the first movie did so much and had as much as an impact and was as big a hit as it was. You know, it showed African, you know, Black folks in a thriving, positive light. That's why, you know, I found the first one such a joy to watch. One of the many reasons I found it such a joy to watch. You had them living harmoniously and peacefully in this, you know, this great thriving environment. You know, that's one of the reasons that, you know, I would sit, you know, prior to Chadwick Boseman's death, but that's neither here nor there. I would always sit and happily watch it with a big smile on my face.
And being led by a noble king hero, which is just unheard of. A noble king hero who happens to be Black also. And I just don't want those negative tropes that we think about, you know, a lot of people think about in now, I guess, Black / African American / you know, I guess
to overrule things or
culture,
or
to take you out of that, you know.
Yeah, or to render everything that the first movie did obsolete.
Yeah, but you might be reading way too much into it because maybe they never planned on having Storm. Maybe they always planned on Nakia always being around, and Storm never existed. But that's just before they had X-Men. But once you had X-Men, I don't think you can do that.
Yeah, we're gonna blame Fox for that.
Well, that's good you brought that up because E-Man also brought that up. He goes, "When are we going to see Storm?" And Nate Moore kind of laughed and he said, "It's not a question if anymore; it's a question when." You know, so when everything first started, they weren't sure what was happening with Fox, and now obviously they got the rights. And I think they're really going to go hard with little TJ being the Black Panther that we see in the comics.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't like it, but if I don't know, it needs to be a thing that they build on. But that's going to be a thing that's always going to be in the back of people's head. Is like, well, that's like real T'Challa had to die for this version to be. I don't know if that's good or bad.
No one's going to like it, but you know what? The truth is, even all the people that will want to recast T'Challa in 5 years, that they do it right, we're all probably just shut up and deal with it.
Yeah.
That's just.
I mean, at this point, you know, I don't know if they're ever gonna recast the way we want to recast, but there was Planet Fanatics had a nice conversation with another YouTuber about the whole topic. You know, the other guy, I think it came off wrong. He was also for recasting, but he had other issues with it. So I would recommend go and watch that. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. It was interesting. You know, whether you're not recast or for or against it. But one thing he did say was I lost my train of thought, was that they're gonna do what they're gonna do no matter what. You know what I mean? And he's like, just deal with it. And my only issue is that is like just dealing with it is accepting it. So like for me, like silence is acceptance. Exactly. You know, is something that I was like, you know, knew. So it's like, so if you're silent, you accept it, which means so later on when you object it, they're like, well, you were cool with it this whole time. We're like, well, not really, but like, but you never said anything. So at least we keep saying it, like, this is not what we want. This is not what we want. But what we're given is like, cool, I'll take what I'm given right now. If it turns into something good, then cool. But still, you should never have gone this route.
I'm going to voice my displeasure. I'm going to have facts behind what I'm saying when I'm saying.
Yeah.
And the worst that can happen is they say, we hear what you're saying and we agree with your premise. That's not where we went with, but we hear you and we will try to incorporate that into the next. That's all I asked for. You know, I'm not a movie maker. I don't have the money. I didn't put any of the money down for it. I didn't write the screenplay. I didn't do any of those things. But this is my opinion, what I would like to see. And as a consumer, you're still selling the product. You need to listen to the consumer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. You know, also that was another thing. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, you're fine. I was just saying, and you know me, we've had this conversation many a time, and I kind of straddled that line between, you know, in the case of Black Panther, I'm fine with it. I understand why they're doing it, but you know, as you remember, I really kind of began to have a problem with it when they didn't seem to hesitate to recast William Hurt. You know, they didn't break stride with that. You know, so. I don't understand, even with him, even with General Ross being a secondary character. They're already saying he's going to be Red Hulk in the New World Order.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I don't understand. You know, you can't have it both ways sometimes.
Yeah, you know, like,
and I will just like you guys. Just like you guys, I'll voice my opinion too. Like I said, I was playing the good cop for it for a while, admittedly. you know, and just kind
Came
of
over to
willing
the
to
dark side.
compromise. But yeah, but then that happened, and I was like, you know, come on.
Yeah.
I don't think it would have been disrespectful to Bozeman.
I don't think so.
But
I think
let
to me
not
that would have
open
been
that can of
honoring him.
worms right now.
But I do
Yeah,
think you
but-
need to take some more time. But let's not even go there. I want to continue to go, you know, what Eman saw, you know, from Nate Moore. Because Nate Moore is interesting. The things that he said was very interesting to me.
Yeah, he does contradict himself a lot.
He talks out both sides of his mouth.
Last week he said this, and now this week he's saying something else. I'm sure in another week he's gonna say something else. In a year from now, you know, when they're doing Secret Invasion or Secret Wars,
like, I always thought we were going to recast the child. That's what
he's yeah. So, you know, but I get it, man. You know, he's a businessman. Businessmen say what you want to hear. So.
Hey, how mad can you be with him? Because without him, we might not have Black Panther.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I go.
Yeah. So I don't know. So yeah. So that came out today, and that was I thought it was a really good question. That was, you know, you give E-Man his props for that. That was a really good question, and Nate Moore, it seemed like he gave an honest answer. You know, he didn't really like stumble over his words and like well, you know, like he did in previous interviews. So it was, he seemed legit when he said what he said. I believe that. I'm like, okay, so this was always going to be the plan. I don't like it. I don't like it, but okay, you know,
just say okay, you know, yeah, exactly. So,
we'll see. One thing, like in one of our last when we did one of our trailer reactions, one of the comments we got was like, well, if you want, you should just write what's your script for Black Panther 3, or what would your script be? It's like, we had, like, you know, I know you always say it, we have since the 60s storylines. Pick one of those. You know, that's like Catherine Kennedy saying, like, well, you know, we just can't go to a bookshelf and pull off a story. Yeah, you can.
Yes, you can. That's exactly.
You literally have so many stories you can literally pull off the shelf. You know, so it's like, yeah. So it's like, I don't want to write a script. I want to see what I read in the comics on screen. You know, so
I always could say, because Black Panther really made a change when around the early 90s to what the kind of movie that we got in this movie. That's kind of the change that we saw in the early 90s. So there's 30 years of stories. 30 years of stories that they could go with. Trust me.
Yeah.
They're there. I can show you.
Yeah. You don't have to write a script. You just pull out, you know, comic book.
It's very
102. Just look it up.
What were you gonna say? Go ahead for it.
Oh, nothing. I was just saying, you know, there's always, you can do it better. Why don't you write it and freaking eat me?
That's not my job. I am consumer. I'm the person that reads all the stuff that you don't read, and I know where it should and should not go. You know, but I expect you to do it. So I just can tell you if it makes sense or not. That's all I'm going.
Yeah. Also, it's like, I mean, we're not like, you know, Dean Richards or like Siskel and Ebert and stuff like that, you know, but we are, I think, critics, you know, at the very amateur level, you know, so it's like, yeah, you know, it's like, this is what we think about it on a critical level, and then this is what we think about it on a personal fan emotional level, you know, and I think we did a pretty good job with that. You know, I try to, like, the movie as itself plus the movie with my emotions are very different, very different thoughts, you know.
And I think we always try to make sure everyone understands this is our opinion. You're right to have the right to your opinion too. And I'm the type of person, and I know actually all three of us are really the ones willing to listen, willing to hear. We can have a discussion. No one has to be called stupid, and we could just accept what everyone is saying, and then come to understanding. Everyone is good. It's good to have their own opinions. And I think that's a great thing. I think it's a powerful thing that you can have those type of conversations.
Yeah. You know, so speaking of this past weekend, we were invited on House of Nerd show to talk about the whole Black Panther Wakanda Forever movie. And, you know, one of the co-hosts, Sergio, he thinks it's one of the greatest MCU movies ever, you know, and if they, you know, I didn't call him like, oh, you're stupid for that. You know, it's like, yeah, if that's how you felt, man, then it worked for you. And in a
That's how
way,
you feel, then
yeah.
then
No,
I
but you
will
just-
respect that.
and understand why he thinks those things. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And then he has representation in the movie. The baddest
Yeah.
character in the damn movie was the one
Yeah.
that was there.
Speaking of, there we go.
understand it. I totally feel him. You know,
Yeah.
it makes a perfect
House of
sense to me.
Nerds joining us. How you
It came
doing?
at the right time, man. Exactly. Just giving you a shout out for letting us join your show the other day. Yeah, you know, but yeah, you know, and for me, it's like when people find joy in something that I don't, I get a little jealous. Not jealous where I'm like, oh my God, but jealous. And I'm like, I wish I could have enjoyed it the way you did.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at you and think you're silly or stupid or call you all these names that, you know, we've been getting.
They've been calling
you know?
us.
Yeah. But, you know, like the people who find like The Last Jedi, like, oh, that was great. I love that movie. And I'm like, how? And I'm jealous. I was like, I want to love Star Wars like that. And I can't. And it makes me jealous, you know, not like in a bad way or anything, but it was like, oh, that's the way I want to feel. You know, like the way Sergio was talking about it, I was like, that's what I wanted. And I didn't get that.
I felt like Sergio was talking about as a movie, and I was talking about it as like the concept for me as a black man, you know, and the things that the tropes that we saw and those things. But
yeah,
there's nothing that he said that was wrong. So that's what, remember I told you after watching the movie, I was very confused and very conflicted because they did a wonderful job with the movie, and Namor is badass as hell, and I love that part.
Mm-hmm.
But I had problems.
Yeah.
So, you know, and both could be true. Why can't all be true?
Yeah. 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 You can, you know, and I always feel like, you know, you could be a critic and then you could be a fan, you know, and sometimes they overlap and sometimes they're on the complete opposite ends, you know? So, you know, for me, this one was on opposite ends, but yeah, did appreciate House of Nerd. Go check them out if anybody's watching. They do awesome stuff over there.
I enjoy what they do with the comics. It's probably one of the funniest things I've ever watched, and I literally enjoy what they're talking to him and Elle. They're just so cool. I really enjoy it.
They do a lot of like independent stuff, which is really cool because like DC, Marvel, yeah, you can grab something off the shelf and it'll probably be fairly good. Independent though, it's like no one ever really goes after those, and these guys talk about it, which is super awesome. And I know they're gonna have a special guest on their show coming up this weekend. Yeah. So that's gonna be super awesome. Yeah, much appreciated. Oh man, no, thank you, dude. Appreciate it. But yeah, man, that was all I got. That E-Man Nate Moore came out today, and I was kind of interested.